All right, welcome back everyone. This video is about my second most important system that I can recommend. The first was the master calendar. This is the second most important system. And it's meetings and agenda templates. That's what I'm gonna call it. You do what you want to with it. But you know how I am about systems. And so what I want to teach you in this video is which meetings to have systematically, and then what should your agenda template be for those meetings so that it relieves a lot of your issues that you have going on. And so let me just get into it, and I'll try to give you some examples as I talk through it, and then I'm going to put a lot of information down in the description. Got meetings that are weekly and meetings that are monthly. Let's talk about the weekly meetings. I highly recommend that you have an office staffing every week. And when I mean every, I mean unless the building's on fire, you have this meeting. And it's your office staffing. So it would be your secretary, data processor, receptionist, include your nurse, your cafeteria manager, head custodian. If you have an after-school program, put that person in there also. So your office staffing, I always had it Wednesday at 1:30. It lasted 30 minutes maximum, and we're out of there. We're going to cover the agenda for the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to talk about issues. So that's the meeting agenda. Calendar, issues. What I also did is I took my opportunity, because it is an opportunity, to practice with that group about what you might be presenting at your faculty meeting. Sort of like a practice group. I had written some talks that I wanted to talk through and get their feedback. I wanted to show them data. I wanted to show them my PowerPoint. And it's amazing how involved they wanted to be that they never really were involved in before me. And so they became a really important group, communication group. But when you have those meetings, you go 2 weeks out, you can coordinate any movements, like if the after-school program needs to move because you're having a PTA meeting. If you're having any field trips, your nurse can make sure that your cafeteria manager, everything is coordinated on that. Highly, highly recommend that. And then leadership team meetings. I always had mine on Friday at 9 o'clock. Again, unless the building's on fire, we're having leadership. People on my leadership team were my, an AP, or if I had multiple APs, counselor or counselors, my special ed team leader, and then if I had any instructional coaches, depending on my campus. Again, the agenda is the calendar for 2 weeks, and then issues. That's the agenda. So, and what that looks like is I have my calendar and I go through it, and anything that I think they need to know about in the next 2 weeks that's on my calendar, we talk about the date, the time, and then we move on to the next person, and then the next person, the next person. That's not time to expand on that event. It's just to tell that event. Because remember, I want efficient and effective meetings. So everybody at the table, we go around 2 weeks, and then we go one at a time. What issues do you have? Let's solve it. What issues do we have? What's the plan for it? What issues do we have? It's just information only? Rock on. Because there would be times where we need to report out on a student or a grade level or a teacher who's going through rough times. And that's because we just need to know about it. Then we bring in data, we bring in all kinds of things to those meetings, but the agenda items is calendar, issues. Okay, so that's the weekly meetings. And that's a system of having weekly meetings. And if your weekly meetings have standard agendas, then there you go. It's that easy. It's that easy. Okay, next, monthly meetings. Now, at least once a month, if you want to be with your faculty. I had one of my mentors one time say, sometimes I meet with my faculty because I just love my faculty and I need to be with them. Now, those meetings might be celebratory or it might be announcements for one thing or another, but you got to be in front of them. And especially if you're the leader, they need to see you. They need to hear from you. Okay, when you have your faculty meeting, start out with celebrations, acknowledgments, announcements. It can be personal, professional, doesn't matter. Let's just get this meeting started with some positive energy. Tell me something good is one thing that has been put out there. Then we're going to get into items that everybody needs to know about. And then at the end, what I always told my staff is, I'm going to stay right here until everybody leaves. If you have questions about something, if you want to ask me something, no problem, stay right here. If you want to hear those questions and those answers, stay right here. But I'll stay right here until they all get solved, because I want people to know I'm transparent. I want them to have that time with me, because when I'm going 100 miles an hour and they're going 100 miles an hour, we rarely get that time. So they know when we have a faculty meeting, I'm staying put. Okay, that's faculty meeting. Campus council. In our district, we called it the Campus Improvement Committee. And to me, that was my leadership team, my grade level team leaders, PTA President, and community members. And standard agenda items, and I'll put that in the description. If you're a title school, go through your title documentation. You always want to cover your campus improvement plan. You want to cover your budget. You want to cover anything safety. And then you go through anything that's going to affect the entire school. I took that opportunity to teach my staff leaders about the key things that were important to me, the things of, okay, let's make a decision for the campus. 5th grade, you may not get what you want because kinder needs this, or you may get some of what you want, or you may get 90% of what you want, but we need to make a good decision for all of our kids. Campus Council is about all the kids, and the agenda items focus on that. Your PTA is going to have a monthly meeting, and what I always did was I was on the PTA board and my PTA was on my campus council so that we could be there for each other. So you're always at the PTA board meeting. You're on their agenda. You're usually an agenda item. You speak. Remember, they're all listening and they're all going to go back to their part of the community and talk. So prepare for that meeting. Know they're going to ask you about what's going on, why is it going on. So you might want to bring some artifacts with you that they can leave with, so that it's not one of those one thing said, 5 things heard things. I always meet with my PTA president, and we talk about just the school in general. From my perspective, I want to know her perspective or his perspective, and then anything that we need to do so that we're just like that. We don't need a situation where the principal and the PTA president are thinking and saying different things. That's not good for anybody. So even if you disagree on something, okay, here's the issue. Principal thinks this, I think that. At least you've got some civility to the issue. We just disagree. I met with all of my team leaders once a month, and it was just a informal conversation. Tell me what's going on. Tell me how I can help. What resources do you need? Nothing more than that, just a conversation. I met with my teams, my grade levels each month, and I was an agenda item on their agenda. It wasn't my agenda, except after assessments when we had data meetings. But I would come in, it's their time to praise me, it's their time to yell at me, it's their time to ask me questions about their specific grade level. And it's really important that they get that time with you. So I was an agenda item on their agenda. I met with my counselors. If you have communities and schools, they were a team. And that's just to review students, looking at your high flyers, your discipline, any families that are going through rough times, kids going through rough times. That was an important group for me, especially these days. I think that's key. My head custodian, we walked the school once a month to see of what needs to be fixed, what needs to be a project, what they needed to go to their supervisor about. But again, remember in my last video, I talked about one of my 3 goals always, just about always, was I wanted the cleanest building I could possibly get. So it was important for me to communicate with my head custodian once a month at least. And remember, my head custodian is in my office staffing too. It's key. All right, and then my cafeteria manager. Wanted to know from her what she needed from me, how I could help, if there were any problems. And I'm going to make a video about this, but at my last school, my cafeteria manager was my #1 supporter. And I'll tell you why in one of my upcoming videos. And then you've got those other meetings, the cluster meetings. If you're at a title campus or early childhood or bilingual, you'll have those meetings too. And so keeping up with all these meetings, that's 2 a week, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minimum for the month. That's hard. So, of course, I make a system for it. And it's a simple checklist. This is what it looks like. But this template will keep you on track to systemize your meetings. What I highly recommend you do is make a office staffing folder and a leadership team folder and keep that handy. And so you're just throwing stuff in there throughout the week, and then when you go to that meeting, you just grab your folder. Meeting and agenda templates. Those are 2 systems. One is to systematically have your meetings. The other one is to systematically have agenda templates so that everybody knows this is how we're going to run this meeting. These are the topics we're going to cover in these meetings. This is how often we're going to have these meetings. So, like I've always said, systems. I highly recommend you systematically have these meetings with the agenda items that I recommended and see how it works. Use that checklist, see if it'll keep you on track, and see if your communication gets better. See if you have less problems. Maybe you could cut back on some meetings and have more time to do something else. All right, that's it for today. Find me if you need me.